He didn't start the fight, but he paid the price for surviving it. That night, Marcus Hill did what any man would do, he defended his own life. But instead of a thank you, he got handcuffs. The cameras caught everything. The headlines called him a killer. Yet when the truth came out, the verdict didn't just free him, it made history. That night in Atlanta, Marcus Hill was just trying to get home. A simple man, 29 years old, a mechanic, the kind of man who worked hard, minded his business, and still believed that being good was enough to keep you safe. But sometimes life doesn't wait for you to be ready. Sometimes, it tests how much you're willing to lose, just to stay alive. I remember the sound of the rain hitting the hood of my car. I remember thinking, just one more stop, grab a drink, head home. I didn't know that would be the last normal thing I'd do for months. Inside, the hum of fluorescent lights and the faint chatter of a TV filled the air. A few people stood in line. And then, a confrontation that changed everything. According to witnesses, it started over something small. A spilled drink, a shove, an insult that escalated too fast. The other man, a white customer, mid-40s, had been drinking. Words turned to threats. Then threats to action. He said, "You think you're tough?" And he pushed me. I stepped back, told him I didn't want trouble. He came again, faster this time. I saw something shine in his hand. Security footage later confirmed what Marcus remembered, the man pulled a knife first. What happened next lasted less than 7 seconds. Marcus grabbed his arm, struggled, and in the chaos, the attacker fell, hitting his head against the corner of a shelf. By the time police arrived, the man lay unconscious. Marcus stood frozen, hands shaking. I was still saying, "He tried to stab me, he tried to stab me." But they weren't listening. 2 white officers entered the store. They saw a black man standing over an injured white man, a knife nearby. Within moments, Marcus was face down on the cold floor, handcuffs biting into his wrists. No one asked him what happened. No one checked the cameras. The assumption had already been made. Within hours, local news picked up the story. Man stabbed in convenience store altercation, suspect in custody. They didn't use Marcus's name at first. But when they did, the headline changed tone. Mechanic arrested in violent store fight. They made it sound like I was some kind of monster. My mama turned on the TV and saw my face. She said, "Lord, they done got my boy." In a city still healing from past racial wounds, stories like this carried weight. Protesters started asking questions. Was this self-defense? Or another case of bias? But Marcus sat in a cell, waiting. Marcus was assigned a public defender, overworked, underpaid, and already handling a dozen cases that week. The prosecution moved fast, charging him with aggravated assault. The injured man was in a coma. For the system, it was open and shut. They told me to take a plea. Said if I just said I was guilty, I might be out in 5 years. 5 years? For not dying? I told them no. I'd rather sit and wait than lie. Weeks turned into months. But then, something shifted. A journalist, Tanya Reynolds, local reporter for the Atlanta Ledger, saw something odd in the police report. The store's security footage was never reviewed. The report listed it as unavailable. But Tanya visited the store herself. The footage still existed, dusty, untouched, on an old DVR. What she found changed everything. The video clearly showed the attacker initiating the fight. It showed the knife. It showed Marcus defending himself, exactly as he said. The journalist's article exploded online. Video shows Atlanta mechanic acted in self-defense. Public pressure forced the district attorney's office to reopen the case. A new lawyer, James Porter, a seasoned African-American defense attorney, took the case pro bono. He believed in Marcus, and he believed in showing the jury the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a story about aggression. This is a story about survival. When the law punishes a man for defending his life, what message do we send to every citizen who ever feared for theirs? That was the first time I felt like somebody saw me. The courtroom buzzed with tension. Every seat was filled. Cameras outside. Reporters tweeting updates. For weeks, Atlanta held its breath. Prosecutors argued Marcus had used excessive force. But the video told another story. The defense slowed it down frame by frame. The jury leaned forward. Marcus, voiceover. I could hear my heartbeat. Every click of the projector felt louder than thunder. Then came the prosecution's key witness, a customer who had originally described Marcus as angry. Under cross-examination, Porter revealed she'd only seen the fight after it started. Her words began to crumble. By day 6, the truth was undeniable. When the case went to the jury, 12 people carried Marcus's fate in their hands. The room went silent as the judge instructed them to deliberate. Hours passed. Then night fell. Marcus sat alone in the holding room, staring at the walls. I thought about everything I'd lost, my job, my peace, my name. I wondered if they'd ever see me as a man, or just another case number. At 9:42 p.m., the bailiff opened the door. The jury has reached a verdict. The courtroom filled again. Marcus's mother held her breath. Cameras rolled. Will the defendant please rise? We, the jury, find the defendant, Marcus Hill, not guilty on all counts. I didn't even know how to breathe. All I could think was, I'm free. But then it hit me, I shouldn't have had to fight this hard just to prove I wanted to live. The verdict became a turning point. Local lawmakers began reviewing the city's self-defense statutes. Within months, the Marcus Hill provision was proposed, requiring police to secure all video evidence before filing major assault charges. Marcus's case became more than a story, it became a symbol. A reminder that justice, when forced into the light, can still work. People stop me sometimes and say, "You're that guy." And I tell them, yeah, but I'm also a son, a worker, a man who just wanted to go home. In the months that followed, Marcus rebuilt his life piece by piece. He opened a small auto shop with help from community donations. He hired young men coming out of the system, giving them the chance he nearly lost. The journalist, Tanya Reynolds, won an award for her reporting. Attorney Porter became a sought-after advocate for criminal justice reform. But for Marcus, the victory was quieter. Every time I lock up the shop and the street gets quiet, I still hear that night in my head. Not the fight, but the cuffs. And I tell myself, never again. Some stories end with freedom. Others begin there. Marcus Hill's name now sits in law journals, court cases, and civil rights lectures. But to him, it's simpler than that. I just wanted the truth. That's all. He was arrested for defending himself. But the jury's verdict didn't just set him free, it made history. It reminded us that behind every headline is a heartbeat. Behind every case, a life that could have been lost to silence. And maybe, that's the question we should all ask ourselves. What would you have done, if you were Marcus that night? If this story moved you, share it. Because every view, every voice, helps stories like Marcus's be remembered, not repeated. Subscribe to Melanin Chronicles, where real stories remind us what it means to fight for truth, for dignity, and for life itself.